What's going on, everyone? Welcome on into Falcons Today by Chat Sports. On today's episode, I want to discuss some of the trade rumors, just chatter out there around Kirk Cousins because I feel like, and feel free to agree or disagree if you've seen the same things I'm seeing, a lot of other NFL fan bases that are in need of a quarterback are looking at Atlanta and looking at Kirk Cousins and see blood in the water, see an opportunity to swoop in and take Cousins because the Penix pick happened in the first round. He's not playing so well. And to them, they're connecting the dots very easily. I struggle to see a world where Kirk Cousins is traded after one season for a handful of reasons. For one, Kirk Cousins has a no trade clause. So you can't just ship him off anywhere you want. If there's only one team that calls to make an offer and Cousins doesn't want to go there, he simply can say no. You pair that with the fact that Kirk Cousins picked Atlanta to be what he said, kind of like it was a cemetery where he wanted to finish his career, like a final resting place. His wife is from the Atlanta area. That was, I think, a factor in going to the Falcons. Now, I don't think that his wife is going to strong arm him into playing wherever she wants him to play for the rest of his career, but he seemed really gung-ho about finishing his career with the Falcons. And sometimes those things can become out of your control, but when you've got a no-trade clause, you get a lot of control. So sure, the last couple of weeks have been not good for Cousins, and I'm not here to advocate for him staying as the starter because of the way he has played. I'm here saying I don't see a path for Kirk Cousins to get dealt with that no trade clause and also with not a very clear landing spot, right? There's no team I feel like right now that's like the Falcons that feels like they are a Kirk Cousins away from being a very competitive team. And also, what team would want to trade for Kirk Cousins right now? I mean, if he did not play for the rest of the season, let's say Atlanta decides to bench him and roll with Michael Penix. Sure, there are teams out there that still think Cousins can be a starting caliber player, but are there teams out there that also coincide with a list of teams he would go play at? And also, they would make a fair trade offer to Atlanta? There's a lot of boxes that have to get checked. And in fact, I think there's just one too many that would have to get checked for Kirk Cousins to get dealt. He'd have to be open to lifting up his no trade clause to go to that team. There would have to be a team out there that would make Atlanta at least a decent offer for Cousins. You got to find a team out there that would want to trade for Kirk Cousins. You see how when you find all of these variables and they all have to get in the same row, it starts to become very difficult to see it happening. Oh, and by the way, owner Arthur Blank gave him $100 million guaranteed. Don't you think he might just kind of step in and go, hey, Terry, what's up, Raheem? I know you guys kind of want to start with Michael Penix now, but we discussed a plan this time last year, and the plan was Kirk Cousins for 2 years. Am I really about to give this guy a $100 million check for 1 year of service? I'm going to put it on you to coach him up or to find a way to make it work. That's not something we can just eliminate. So what do you think? Is Kirk Cousins going to get traded? We're going to look at some destinations and what it could cost and what the Falcons could get in return. But just right now, what do you think? Yes or no? Let me hear it from you in the comment section. So let's look at my first potential trade destination. It's the Cleveland Browns. I could see the Browns going, listen, to themselves. Deshaun Watson has not worked out for us. While the Jameis experience appears to be a lot of fun, it's more fun for the rest of the country because they're not actually the team that's experiencing 3 interceptions and 2 pick sixes in a close game on Monday Night Football. So I would not rule out the Browns going, this Jameis experience was fun, but it actually hasn't resulted in all the wins we were hoping for. And with Kirk Cousins and Kevin Stefanski overlapping in Minnesota and Kirk Cousins actually playing in the system that Stefanski runs so well, right? That play action offense and uncorking the deep ball. That's what Cousins did in Minnesota. Why Atlanta is not doing more of that after signing him is beyond me. But maybe the Browns could be interested in Cousins if they decide he's an upgrade from Jameis Winston and they just don't want to go back to Deshaun Watson. But would the Browns make a competitive offer? That I'm not so convinced about. They gave up a lot for Deshaun Watson. They're finally back to having all their draft picks back. Are they really about to go back-to-back trades of giving up sizable draft capital? Unlikely, in my opinion. So the Browns are an option, but again, every option we're going to look at today has a little bit of a hiccup to it. Before we look at the other three, I do want to show some love to our friends over at Prize Picks. Prize Picks is super simple to use. All you do is pick more or less on at least 2 players for a shot to win up to 100 times your cash. Run your game all season long on Prize Picks. Prize Pick, by the way, offers Venmo for quick and easy deposits and withdrawals into your account. Download the app today and use code CLNS to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. All of that information is in the comments and description of today's video. Download the app today and use code CLNS to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks. Run your game. So let's peek at some of the other destinations for Kirk Cousins if a trade were to materialize. Which, by the way, I'll just say right now, after talking more about the Raiders, it'll probably be a 3rd-round draft pick at most. I mean, look what Justin Fields got dealt for. Kirk Cousins, the last couple of 3 weeks, has not helped his trade value. So if you're thinking of first, no. If you're thinking of second, no. Third, maybe. But the Raiders are another option to watch for. So let's talk about Las Vegas. This quarterback class, I don't think is going to be as good as we think it is when it comes to the NFL draft. I do like Cam Ward as a passer. Shedeur Sanders, there's a lot of upside, but there's a lot of just what the heck moments, right? His accuracy at times can be really great, but also really spotty. The numbers don't always seem to align on Shedeur Sanders. So I would not rule out the Raiders drafting Shedeur, wanting to sit him for a year, and having Kirk Cousins run it all over again. But the big issue with that is Kirk Cousins really about to go from the same situation he's in Atlanta to Las Vegas, get traded, and watch them draft a quarterback in round 1? He doesn't have to. He has a no-trade clause. He can say no. Plus, I just struggle to envision Kirk Cousins picking up his family and going, we're about to move to a city called the Sin City. That doesn't seem like a very family-inviting town. So for that reason, I wouldn't be shocked if maybe Mrs. Cousins, Julie, goes like, no, we're not moving the kids to Las Vegas. So just to keep that in the back of your mind. 3rd destination. What about the New York Jets? How can they bring back Aaron Rodgers? They can't. The head coach and the GM that pursued him, that got him to New York, are both gone. They're both fired. Robert Saleh and Joe Douglas. So whoever they hired to replace them, I don't think they're being hired to make it work with Aaron Rodgers. They have done everything to Aaron's letter, and it hasn't worked out. They traded for Devontae Adams. They've only lost since then, right? It has simply not been a successful marriage, a good union. So I could see the next head coach and GM going, we're done with Rodgers, but we still think this is a talented roster, which it is. And they may feel like we can actually run back the same plan that the previous regime had, but just with a different veteran quarterback. Is that a good idea? Probably not. Are the Jets a smart organization? Absolutely not. So if there is a organization, if there's a team dumb enough out there to try it all over again with a different veteran, it would be the New York Jets. So don't rule them out. But once again, we have to go back to the first question. Would he waive his no-trade clause for New York? Maybe, right? I feel like the Browns, I could see him getting on board with Stefanski and the offense they run. He could see that as a really good fit to his skill set. New York, he could look at Garrett Wilson, maybe Devontae Adams sticks around, Breece Hall, and figure out, yeah, beggars can't be choosers. If the Falcons want to go with Michael Penix, I'm not going to Las Vegas to just do it all over again with Shador sitting behind me. And for whatever reason, maybe he decides the Jets are a better situation than the Browns. They're both in similar spots right now, same record pretty much, so they can't be too far apart. Fourth and final one. This one's not as serious at all as the other three, but I do just want to put it on your radar that Kyle Shanahan has always wanted Kirk Cousins. It's not even a secret anymore that he really wanted the 49ers to pursue Kirk Cousins a few years ago, and after a whole bunch of dominoes falling, ended up not happening. Kirk Cousins stayed in Minnesota. Vikings traded up to get Trey Lance, and there's a long, weird string of draft picks that followed, and it resulted in the 49ers getting Brock Purdy. I think it was C.J. Beathard left for the Jags, and the comp pick they got for him was a 7th, and that 7th turned into Purdy. It's a really weird, lineage. But there is reputable and real reporting that Shanahan wanted Kirk Cousins. So if for whatever reason things with Purdy were to go south, I don't see that happening. That's where this conversation kind of ends. But I can at least toss him on the list of, hey, it's got a 1% chance of happening, and that's better than pretty much all the other teams out there that are at 0% chance of happening. Overall, I'll kind of part ways with you guys with this message right here. Cousins' future as a starter in Atlanta hinges on the next 5 weeks. If he comes out and continues to play the same way he's played the last 3 weeks, I mean, sure, the plan was to start him for more than one season, but I don't think Arthur Blank is going to be thrilled with watching that 8th overall pick sit on the bench while this roster continues to lose and this team continues to lose. He's going to be stuck between a rock and a hard place. On one hand, he gave Kirk $100 million. On the other hand, he signed off on using a top 10 draft pick on a quarterback. So which one do you want to fail more, the $100 million contract or the draft pick? As a billionaire, he might decide the $100 million is an easier thing to eat than watching his team underperform, but they have a solution, and it's the 8th overall pick on the bench. I can't put my mind or myself in the shoes of Arthur Blank. I say Arthur Smith earlier, Arthur Blank, but $100 million is a lot to an owner. I know it may not feel like that to them or to us because they're billionaires, but the A's just gave out the biggest contract in franchise history, and it was $66 million. So there are some owners out there that can be a little stingy with their money. Before we get on out of here, name a random Falcons quarterback, but the only rule is they cannot be named Matt Ryan or Michael Vick. So give me a random Falcons QB. I want to go with good old Matt Schaub, but let me know who your random Falcons quarterback is, not named Matt Ryan or Michael Vick, in the comment section.